Hi everyone out there on YouTube. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about starting your own homestead and some ideas of how you can start it. Now we only have a small homestead here, but I've been learning along the way that it's really good to take it slow, to not try and do everything at once. And I think this is a time in our world, there's a lot going on, and people are starting to think about homesteading. People are starting to think about how they can become more self-sufficient, how they can produce more of their own food from their own property. Because what happens if you can't get to the store or if the shelves are empty, right? Before recently, that didn't seem like such a big possibility in many areas of our world. But due to recent events, we realize how quickly life can change. And so I think a lot of people are just kind of thinking about how can I use where I live to become more self-sufficient. Now, if you do not live in a place where you have property, there are still things you can do. There are things you can do if you're in a small apartment. Out here we have 2 acres, and so we don't have an insane amount of land, but we have quite a bit to be able to use it. We, at this point, are not using it to the best of our ability. It's a growing process, and we're still working on it, but there are things we are doing all the time that we hoped that will help produce more food and help us grow more food, raise our own animals, and just learn to be more self-sufficient. So today I'm just going to share different things that you can do to be more self-reliant, more self-sufficient. You're never going to be 100% self-sufficient, but every little bit helps and every little bit counts. So I hope you'll enjoy the video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with what's going on here on the channel, and let's talk about some of the ways that you can homestead. So the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to homesteading is chickens. Now chickens are kind of the first animal that people start out with when they want to add animals to their homestead. It's definitely the first animal we have started out with, and they're really easy to take care of. They will produce eggs for you, and you can raise birds for meat as well. And so they're just a really, really good animal to get your feet wet into the world of homestead animals. Even if you don't live in the country, there are a lot of communities now that are allowing backyard chickens. So definitely check with your town or your city and see. Sometimes you can have like up to 4 chickens. Generally you can't have a rooster because they're pretty noisy, but a lot of communities are allowing that now. So be sure to check that out. And yeah, they're just awesome, an awesome animal to add to your homestead. We love our chickens. We have a couple different breeds now, and we've been raising them since we moved out here 3 years ago, and we will continue to raise them probably as long as we possibly can out here. Okay, let's get this girl back in with her flock. Now, no homestead would be complete without a garden, and this is mine, and it's definitely not a Pinterest picture-worthy garden. It needs a lot of TLC this year, but it produced quite a bit of food last year for our family, and we continue to grow and make it bigger. Now, my one piece of advice would be, when you're starting out your garden, is to start out small. A garden is a lot of work, and there's things that you learn along the way. You learn what grows best in your climate. You learn how to encourage your plants to grow better. And so if you go too big too fast, you can feel overwhelmed and just throw in the towel. Our first year we had, you can't quite see it, but we had this little garden space here over on this side, and we just kind of grew a few things, and then last year was our second year, and we built this whole bigger garden over here and a spot in the front yard to grow pumpkins and some herbs. And so this year we'll be even expanding a little more on the front garden. And so it has been a really good experience for us, and because we hadn't done too much at once. And so I was very thankful because last year I kind of built on what I learned the previous year, and last year was a lot easier. Even though we had a bigger garden than the previous year, it was actually easier last year because I just knew a little more. And this year it will continue to be easier in that regard, and we'll try some new things. If you do not have property, even if you live in an apartment, you can grow your own food. Obviously you can't grow as much as you would like to maybe, but you can still grow vegetables in containers. So don't be discouraged, grow what you can, work with what you have, make do with what you have, and you can be a gardener no matter where you live. And I love that about homesteading, is that sometimes we get it in our mind that you have to live on, 30 acres in the country, but there's so many opportunities no matter where you live to be self-sufficient and to be a homesteader. So I encourage you to start your garden this year, especially, again, given what's going on around the world. This is the year to garden. This is the year to plant things. You may have some extra time on your hands right now, depending on where you live, because a lot of us are, in our homes a lot more right now. And so this is a perfect time to start your seedlings, start your garden, and grow some of your own food. Another thing you can do if you have maple trees is to tap your trees for sap to make maple syrup. Now, you actually don't even need sugar maple trees. I actually stumbled upon a list on the internet this year, and I'll try to link it below, and it was saying that there are many trees you can actually tap, and it had a whole list of trees you could try. So, obviously the sugar maples I think are the best, but even if you don't have sugar maples, you may be able to tap your trees. So be sure to check out that article. And we just took our buckets down a couple days ago, but we actually have over 7 trees that we could tap, but we only tap 7, and I think we're at our limit because we actually don't have a sugar shack. And so for us, we boil down on the wood stove in the house. Now, I know there's some debate about doing that because it can make your windows and your walls and stuff sticky. I have not run into that problem. I think it's because we have a very light, slow boil. Our wood stove doesn't run as hot as we maybe should have it at all times. So I have personally not run into that problem, but that it has been an area of concern for others. But if you have a wood stove, you can definitely do it that way. We also have read online and seen other people kind of boil it down outside. They build a fire or they have some kind of plan to do that, and they are able to boil it down. So now every year it depends on how well the sap is flowing. This is only our 2nd year. Last year was not a very good year, but this year with our 7 trees, we only had 1 bucket on each tree because that's all the buckets we have at this point. We got over 7 liters of maple syrup. So if you have some trees on your property that are the type that can be tapped, that's something you can do to help produce food for your family. And let's be honest, maple syrup is one of the best foods you can produce on your property. It's so good, really good in coffee. Okay, so that's pretty much all the things I have right now to show you that are outdoors. So I'm going to bring you inside and show you a few things you can do from inside your home to be a homesteader or to be more self-sufficient. So let's go. Just before we go inside, I just wanted to show you this little plant here. This is actually a lavender plant that I've planted each year since we've been here. I just plant a new one to add on to the previous one because it's easier on the budget, and I eventually want a nice good patch of lavender. And so I can use that in homemade soaps, or there's other ways you can use it. So far I've mostly just used it in soaps, but it is part of my gardening here on the homestead. Okay, let's go inside. Okay, the next things that I'm going to share with you that you can do to become more self-sufficient are really great in my opinion, because it doesn't matter where you live, you can do these. You don't have to have property. You don't even have to live in a house. You can live in an apartment, and you can make these to become more self-sufficient. So the first thing that I'm going to share with you is your own homemade soap. And I love to make homemade soap because I can make a batch of soap, a big batch, which takes me an afternoon, and I could have soap for the whole year. It does take about 6 weeks to cure, but it's really not that time consuming for a whole year or more of soap. You can make all different kinds of soap, and if you have access to something like goat milk, you can make some pretty nice soap with that, but you actually don't need to have milk to make a decent bar of soap. None of these bars that I have right now actually have milk in them at all. So generally the ingredients include like lard, some kind of oils, maybe a scent, and some exfoliants maybe, and that's about it. And you can order a lot of those products on Amazon or probably get them locally. So soap is a really, really great product to make from your own home. You can also sell it as well at markets or different things and make a little bit of money that way. So the one thing I do want to mention though is that when people think about making their own soap, working with lye makes them nervous because lye can be dangerous. However, I can assure you that once you do it, you'll realize that it wasn't that scary at all. You just need to take the necessary precautions to make sure that you're safe with it, and it's actually not as scary to work with in the end that you maybe thought it was going to be. So I encourage you to try making your own soap. The other thing I like to do is make my own beeswax candles. So I make all different kinds, and I love beeswax candles because they are healthier than the paraffin wax candles. If I want to light a candle but I want the scent with it, I will just put some essential oils in a diffuser and then I'll light my candles, and then I get the best of both worlds. So, and again, candles is along the lines of soap. You can make quite a few. You can make quite a few candles to last you quite a long time in one afternoon. So, and I actually have a tutorial on how to make beeswax candles on my blog, so I will link that below. Now the next thing is making your homemade cleaners. Now, you know when you go into the grocery store and the shelf has like just shelves and shelves full of cleaners, but you actually only need like a few ingredients to make all you need. You know, if you have baking soda, vinegar, maybe some essential oils, you can make quite a lot out of just a few ingredients. I mean, it's what our grandparents cleaned their house with, right? So they are cheap to make, and you know, it's great when you run out because you just go grab your vinegar, baking soda, whatever, and you refill your bottle and you're back in business. Now, I do have a blog post with 10 different recipes for different cleaning products, and I will link that below so that you have that and you can start making your own cleaning products. So what I've been sharing with you in this video is by no means exhaustive. These are just some of the skills that you can learn to become more self-sufficient, but there are many more out there. The last one I want to share with you today is baking and cooking from scratch. Now, I know there's people out there who say, I can't cook, I can't bake, I've tried, I give up, there's no way. And I truly believe that anyone who wants to learn can cook and can bake. So if you are someone who maybe hasn't had much success in the kitchen, I just encourage you to keep trying. There are a ton of tutorials online, videos, step-by-step instructions of how to cook basically everything you can think of. When I first got married, I could not cook very well. I could boil some water for some pasta and maybe make cookies, but I burnt them half the time. However, in the past 16 years, I have learned how to cook and how to bake better, and it has all come from what I have watched or read on the internet. So now I can cook just about anything I want to if I follow instructions. I love to bake bread. I make my own broth. I make my own soup. So I have no problem roasting a whole chicken. And let me tell you, the first time I roasted a whole chicken, I mean, I had no clue what I was doing. So these are skills that you can learn no matter what your background, no matter where you're from, no matter what failures you have had in the kitchen before. I encourage you to keep trying. You will fail, but we learn when we fail. So I encourage you to keep trying and keep at it. So those are the self-sufficient skills I have to share with you today. Again, as I've been saying throughout the video, a lot of them you can do no matter where you live, and I think that's really awesome. But these are skills that are great to learn, that are great for us to pass on to our kids. A lot of them have become lost skills. And if what we're going through right now in the world has taught us anything, it's that those skills are just as important today as they were 20, 30, 50 years ago. We need to bring those skills back. So that's what I have to share with you today, and thanks for watching.